That's where we get to Jimbo Fisher, Texas A&M, and Miami. I thought this Saturday, Paul, was a good opportunity to get to know and learn something about some of these teams that we didn't learn anything from in week one. And that goes for Miami. Year 2, Mario Cristobal needed a statement win to make people believe. But year 6, Jimbo Fisher, 5 stars everywhere, coaching staff changes on the road against a team they have more talent than. Paul, Texas A&M didn't get beat. They got pummeled by Miami.
They did. It was about a year ago on this podcast, Matt, when I called the Miami program a fraud. I think they had lost to Middle Tennessee or somebody.
It was ugly, yeah.
And I got a text the next morning from Mario Cristobal going, "Hey man, like, come on, like, do you have any idea what we're trying to what we're doing here?" And the translation of that is, we need to run off about 3/4 of this place before we can move forward. And he was right. I was really glad to see that, because I'm a big fan of his.
Yeah.
But I know I've avoided your question by pontificating about Mario Cristobal, but
he deserves it though. Mario deserves credit this morning.
But the situation with A&M now become tenuous is a good word, because with every game now, the microscope is back on. I mean, all the attention about Bobby Petrino, that accomplished absolutely nothing. And it proves how we read so much into first games that don't mean anything, Matt.
That's why I thought yesterday was important. I thought you had to learn who these teams are after these horribly week 1 scheduled games. And Connor Wegman, I get it. I mean, I don't know how many times Palmer and Tess could say it. 5-star quarterback, highly ranked quarterback. All right, well, Tyler Van Dyke threw 5 touchdowns and looked better. Texas A&M has more talent. I speak with Mario. Mario wouldn't argue with that. He'd be sitting right here and be like, yeah, they have more talent. They do. And you can't go and get thumped the way you got thumped. And going into the weekend, I said for Texas, if not now, when for Sark, right? Well, I'm going to apply that to Texas A&M. Year 6, if not Paul now, like when?
Yeah, and Matt, one thing that happened yesterday that may have been more important to this conversation than even the result in Miami, and that was the first conversation. If Texas really is back, that's a problem for Jimbo Fisher, because in that state, yeah, you could say who cares about Texas while A&M was getting used to the SEC, but Texas is in the SEC now, and that was the greatest source of pride for the Aggies. We got in the SEC. We had Johnny Manziel. We beat Alabama. We didn't do a lot of great things, but we did a couple of good things while Texas was mired in mediocrity. And because of us, they decided to get in the SEC. That was all the narrative. That's gone now. That's shattered. And in one night in Tuscaloosa, Sark moved forward, and Jimbo Fisher on the way home had to be sick to his stomach, realizing what that means to him, because it adds significant pressure now.
Is it going to work? I mean, if you're an A&M fan, give me the light at the end of this dark Sunday morning tunnel.
Well, I mean, every conversation about Jimbo Fisher starts, I feel like we're on Wall Street on Jim Cramer's report, because you have to talk about money. And at some point, A&M officials have to look in and go, oh, are we going to let $75 million affect the progress of this program? And I'll try to avoid I don't know where this goes from here. This was a terrible loss. It can be overcome with a win over Alabama, a win over Arkansas, momentum. But if it's not, then I would think at the end of the season, if A&M is looking at a mediocre record, that 75 million will not be a factor. I've maintained that for a long time. That's a factor if it's a close call. Last year, to Jimbo's credit, I give Ross Bjork credit, the Athletic. Yeah. He did a very good job of protecting Jimbo Fisher. Remember, the A&M president has been replaced, so she was fired a few weeks ago. So there's a little bit of a transition there. But as you and I both know, presidents don't make those decisions at places like Texas and A&M. It's the guys with the cowboy hats.
Right.
And I don't think you'll be able to survive if they don't reach a certain mark. And Matt, it's a little bit hard to tell on September 10th what that number is. But if they are losing games like this on a consistent basis, then he has no future.
Yep. And breaking it down, just big picture, they have the talent to win every game that they're in. Whether or not they can, that remains to be seen over the next 3 months of the season. But Saturday's certainly not a vote of confidence if you're thinking that A&M could have been a sleeper team in the SEC West, which brings me to the final topic, because we get so caught up in one matchup here, one matchup there, one game, one final score. But as I sit there and look big picture, Paul, going into the season, I think you and I would have sat here and said the three best teams in the SEC West. Apologies, Lane Kiffin. Don't comment about us about this later. The three best teams in the SEC West. LSU already got thumped against Florida State.
No.
Alabama, double-digit loss to Texas. And now Texas A&M, double-digit loss to Miami. The three best teams in the SEC West have already gone down to non-conference opponents by double digits in the first 2 weeks of the season.
It's remarkable, and as you look ahead to this coming weekend, there's a game on there, and you know which game it is, that there will be enormous pressure on the head coach, and that sounds crazy because it's only his second season, but there are a lot of games will be pressure on the head coach. But the idea of Brian Kelly taking his team in for an 11 a.m. start in Starkville, that is scary. I know Mississippi State survived last night.
Yes.
And that may not make you feel better about them in terms of beating LSU, but the environment will be insane. I've been to a couple of those 11 o'clock games, and that 11 o'clock may affect some fans. Not in Starkville. That's late in the day. So.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.